a second, I'll be right there. Oof, jeepers, man. Oh, okay. Hang in. So this is an astrodoodle. These are the things that I like to make. It's sort of like a little weather report for what the planets are doing, whizzing around in our solar system. And this is like a representation of the sacred geometry, how they relate to each other, and how they relate to Earth. So there you go. And we'll come back to it in a minute. Just wanted to say hi. There we go. Yeah, I think we're connected. Yeah, so it's Monday night here. It's the 12th of August. Yeah, we're seriously into the retrograde right now for Mercury, but also Saturn and Neptune and Pluto. So that's a huge pile of retrograde energy all happening simultaneously. And from my simple observation, what's happening, it's like when you have a car and it's bumbling along and things start to go wrong, engine lights and thinking, and there's rattles and then there's smoke, and then the steering doesn't quite work, the brakes don't quite work, something's wrong with the lighting, there's could be the tires, it could be anything, maybe the air conditioning's not working, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And a car that does not receive maintenance will basically fall apart very quickly. I've seen that happen. Cheers. It's just a little bit of coffee with ice. So I feel the same thing is happening right now across the world, where 8 billion people are observing and feeling the same thing in their own way, from their own perspective, in their own particular individual vehicle of life, in other words, your body, and from there, by extension, your immediate surroundings, and by there, from extension, your community, your environment, your particular tribe. Like if you're one of the super elites and you hang around in Washington, D.C. and Davos, Switzerland, and everyone you know is the same kind of caliber, you've all got mansions and jets, and that's just your day-to-day life, and you start to look around and you think, you know what, things are getting really weird in this world. We own the world. We control the world. We have all the power, all the money, all the control, but things just don't feel right. There's all sorts of weird things happening. There's a lot of people complaining. Millions of people are complaining that there's something wrong with the world. I wonder what it could be. You think they don't like us? I mean, we have their best interests at stake. We control all the money, all the food, all the land, all the resources, all the distribution, all the logistics, all the global media, all the global corporations for food, military, everything. We control all the governments. We control all the banks. What could possibly go wrong? Do you think maybe people don't trust us because, oh my God, maybe we're screwing up. Hold on. Yeah. Whoa, something smells really bad. Can you smell that? Can you smell that? Is that you, my friend? Oh, is that you? Oh, you saying it's me? Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, you're saying that I am rotten to the core? You're accusing me of being a cancerous parasite on the world? When in fact, all I do is care. I care about you. I want to save you. Doesn't make any sense. I wonder how we got into this situation. You know what? The only solution is more power, more money, more control. So we have to put the whole world on lockdown. Right now, most of Western Europe is in trouble. England is now turning into an Islamic state. No, there's no interview. Thank you for mentioning that. Dear Necessary Truth. I'm not Elon. I'm not Donald Trump. I'm not doing a 5 p.m. broadcast. I'm just doing my own thing here. I tried to get in on the conversation with Elon and Donald. Logged in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes early. There was about 4 million people already logged in. I couldn't get in. Then around 5 o'clock itself, there was about 6.8 million people logged in. And then at about 8 minutes after 5, there was 13.4 million people trying to log in. So there's going to be, let me just check something here. I can just check, let me just check for you. I'm going to find out where we are right now. Let's have a look here. Let's have a look. Where is he? Okay. Where is he? I've got him here somewhere. Okay. I will find out in a moment. Okay. Alright, this is where the conversation is supposed to be. And there it is. Let's have a look. Oh, you can listen in. Oh, hold on. Okay, give me a second here. Give me a second. This wasn't available earlier.
And I also heard people shout, bullets, get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down, so I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle, so that was the miracle. That was, for those people that don't believe in God, I think we got to all start thinking about that.
All right, hold on.
I'm a believer now. I'm more of a
hold
believer.
On a second.
A lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But
I'm just going to
it was amazing that
pause.
I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle, and all because I put down a.
All right, I just wanted to put it on pause. I don't want to interrupt people who want to listen to the conversation. I'm just trying to give you an idea. Right now, the conversation went up from, where is it? Okay, at about 10 minutes after 5 p.m. my time, it was 13.2 million people. We are now up at 36 million people, and they just started. They're chatting away. I'm going to check in a little bit later, okay? I just want to get a couple things here. So, thank you for hanging out. I know at least 36 million people of you are listening right now to Donald. I get it. I want to, because it's live. It's right now. Anyway, it'll be recorded. I wanted to get a couple things sorted out here on the Astrodoodle. We touched on some of it last night, but last night was mostly about all the readings, the little private mini readings. And so I did a bunch of homework today just to sort of validate and double check everything. With all these retrogrades, you kind of have to do that. And I want to share with you a theory, but before I share that, I want to show the charts. Okay, this looks like just another TarotLumination Astrodoodle that we've been doing for about 7 years. Well, since 2017, early 2017. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah. 7.5 years. Okay. So, we've already talked about this. Here's the retrogrades. These are the tricky spots here. I'll put them in orange. How about that? Maybe yellow. It'll be tricky spot here, tricky spot here, tricky spot here. These are super stress points here, 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 and so on. We've already talked about these many times. And we're just heading into the next crisis point, which is very severe. And we've got a little bit of a hint of it right now. Do you see this fat triangle here? This is a looming T-square based around the pivot point of Mars and Jupiter conjoined in Gemini, which is pretty much happening right now. At the middle, roughly like 17 degrees. Okay, today we're the 12th, and I was asking you to remember through the middle of August, throughout the middle of August especially, we're going through major crises points, and it's already showing in the mainstream media. What's going to happen over the next few days? Venus is going to move, I'll do it much closer. Venus is going to move up here to the 17 degree mark, and this red triangle will be a double, triple thick lines, a very, very severe, harsh T-square. This is very, let's say, relevant to Donald Trump in particular. Why? It's because Donald Trump is actually born with Sun, Mercury, Uranus, and North Node all year in Gemini in his own chart. In his chart, it's actually up there in the 11th house. So, and he has a Leo rising over here, okay? So, right now, Donald is heavily supported in his, like, aura or divine guidance, divine protection, because of these three alignments here. The Sun in Leo is really lighting up his powerhouse Pluto and Mars conjunction in Leo right here. The Mars and Jupiter over here in the transit is lighting up his, I guess you could call it, his solar self. The person he is here on Earth. He's a great communicator, orator, speaker, and he uses words as his most powerful tool, arsenal, weapon, mechanism. Now, at the same time, this conjunction here is heavily conflicted by Saturn over here, and soon it'll be Venus over here. What this indicates to me is that Donald is surrounded by the enemy. Okay, over here, represented over here, and the solutions lie in healthy relationships over here in terms of how are we, the relationship between Donald and the American people, how are we going to clean up this mess? Because this is an astronomical mess. The depth of the mess is buried over here, sadly, tragically. We've talked about this, okay? the unhealthy expression of Neptune in Pisces retrograde. Sadly, that's the dominant energy. And it's being exploited, sadly, by the Pluto in Capricorn retrograde energy. So this triangle here represents tremendously powerful good fortune alignments for the cabal, the elitists, the globalists, the people who want to control and own everything. Their preferred tools of operation are deception, betrayal, lies, theft, blackmail, murder, disease, mind control. And at the same time, even though the global financial system right now is under extreme hyper stress over here, they're actually using it to their advantage to give themselves an excuse to print more money to infinity. Basically, all the central banks around the world now are operating like an orchestra. It's all heavily orchestrated like one organism. It's a singular organism. You know, years ago, 20, 40 years ago, the United States Federal Reserve did whatever it wanted to do, and then the world had to adapt, modify itself. But now it all operates as a singular organism, like a massive cancerous stage 4 metastatic tumor that has permeated the whole of humankind. Okay? That's their business model. In the United States, the business model is very, very simple. The elites, in other words, the Fed, BlackRock, all the people I've mentioned before many times, over here, as far as they're concerned, this is a debt farm. This is a big chunk of land that they own and operate like an industrial farm for cattle. You know, cows, pigs, chickens, seafood, turkeys, eggs, milk, butter, all of that. This is a farm. It's the richest farm and the richest farmland in the world. It is in fact a debt farm. This is the debt farm, owned and operated by the elites. Their business model has been propagated all over the world, and every other country now plays effectively the same game. All currency that exists is now issued by debt. It wasn't generated by any form of value for services rendered, services delivered, services provided, and so on. It's all a massive scam fraud. In other words, the stock market, which is what all the money people talk about, has absolutely zero correlation to our economy itself. They try to make you feel as though the stock market is the economy. It's not. The stock market is simply a correlation. It's a chart that indicates how well the elites are doing with all the value that they have extracted from the masses, from we the people. That's it. It's really, really simple. And it just goes sort of like this. And I'm not going to talk about that right now. Well, let's move on a bit because I want to get to my theory. So, you know, a few weeks ago we talked about, hey everybody, watch out for August. Hey everybody, watch out for August 17th over here, okay? Hey everybody, look in really tight, really close. It isn't just the 17th, it's about 7 days before and 7 days after. Oh, that's interesting. That's half of a lunar cycle. That's actually a new moon to a full moon. Oh, isn't that interesting? New moon to full moon to new moon. And the crisis point is happening right in this area here. So in terms of a ticking clock, it's already happening. It's building up right now. But it is going to amplify. The energy of crisis and insanity and absurdity is going to amplify. over here, in a few days, well, let's see, today's the 12th. By the 14th, the moon's going to be over here. 15th, 16th, 17th, moon's going to be further along. And the 17th, which will be Saturday coming up, the T-square will be at maximum pressure. Now, I made a doodle earlier. This is from the 14th onward, okay? I'm tracking the moon here because this moves very, very quickly, and it's going to bring everything into a crescendo, pivoting around the full moon. So around the 14th, the moon will be in a Sagittarius over here. All right? So let's sort of mark this out a little bit. Well, maybe I'll use orange or something like that. So it's been going through here, but let's go across here, like so. So the moon is going through here, and on the 14th it'll be over here. 15th, 16th, 17th, it'll be roughly over here, and so on. So there's different sort of subtle variations on the crisis point, but this particular one about the 14th was brought to my attention by Necessary Truth. Thank you very much. Hello, Bright Light Becca Boo. Yeah, I heard that about the earthquake, yeah. Yeah, once Saturn goes direct, good luck. It's going to basically, that's when the wheels are going to fall off completely. So, I hate to mess up this astrodoodle, so I'm not going to, but I'm going to indicate here. There's going to be a line appearing here on the 14th. And what we're eventually going to get is something that looks like this. I'll make a very crude illustration here. Eventually, we're going to get something that looks like this. Okay. That's the Sagittarius vibes. That's the Gemini vibes. That's the Pisces vibes, okay? And that's the Virgo vibes over there, okay? This is an extreme high pressure astrological alignment. We're not there yet. We've got hints of it here. We've got this big fat T-square here, which is like a secondary T-square, very much to do with the global financial markets. There's a lot of extreme instability in the global financial markets. Victor, you were watching them? I managed to get on to X and I could hear the conversation, but I couldn't see them. So I gave up and I thought I'm just going to do my own show now. But anyway, so this is the astrology today, right now. The moon is over here at the end of Scorpio, fully opposing Uranus over here at the end of Taurus. This is an extremely harsh T-square. Mercury retrograde over here in Virgo. It's actually on the cusp into Leo very soon. So it's not exact, but in terms of the actual geometry, this is a vicious T-square. And it's about the global financial markets. It'll shake off in a little bit because Mercury moves quickly, the moon moves very quickly. Okay? But it's the equivalent of earthquakes in the global financial system, okay? Okay? It's shaking right now. And if you've followed my channel for a long time, you'll know that I have a constant interest in the global financial system. To me, it's fascinating. Give me a second here. It's streaming live on YouTube? What? Wait a minute. I want to see that. How's that possible? Okay. So you can actually see them? Can you actually see them? Hold on a minute. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay. Oh, there's one of my old videos. Okay, let's just search Elon and Donald. Elon. D-O-N-A-L-D. Elon Donald live right now. Let's see what happens. Musk's No Limits interview live. The Hindustan Times, 12,000 watching. Meet Kevin watching. There are lots of people are 25,000 watching. Times of India. Let me see if I can find live now from Fox. Here we go. Let's try that. Let's try that one. Okay, we're almost. I just want to check in while we're here since we're doing this. I don't want to steal his thunder.
Often hear Project Dynamo about how they are assisting American citizens
who
are in Israel at the moment here.
Okay, so that's not right.
Anthony Blinken is preparing for yet another trip to
Okay, forget that. It's not there. It says it's there, but it's not. Anyway, we'll find out later on. Mercury retrograde. It'll be captured. Anyway, let me get back to my doodles here. We've got this fat T-square right now. We've got this fat T-square right now. All of this combined is very, very stressful. You may or may not feel it. You may not care. You might just be living your life and this means absolutely nothing. Some people might feel this as some kind of bizarre stress in their life and they have no idea why. It could be anything. It could be nothing. It could be severe, extreme. For people who have these exact points in their own chart, they might be feeling it in a very extreme way. For example, Donald right now. So let me get to that point. Well, now that I'm here, I'm just going to pencil it in very thin over here. This line here, this little blue line here represents a massive crisis point of incredible opportunity combined with incredible stress. It's mind-boggling, and it's very, very particular for Donald Trump. Okay? Why do I say that? It's because Donald is born with the Sun in Gemini, Uranus in Gemini, Mercury in Gemini, and the North Node in Gemini, if I recall correctly. Okay? That is fiercely powerful energy on its own. He also has Mars conjoined Pluto in Leo. Okay? So that's happening right now for him. So he's incredibly, let's say, empowered, blessed with divine energy. Now, with great power comes great responsibility. So at this very moment in time, now, live, right now, we're not quite there yet, but he's heading into it. I feel that this meeting tonight is the precursor for the breakdown and the analysis and the debriefing that's going to happen over the next few days while hundreds, millions of people across the world dissect the meeting that's happening tonight. Okay? So, what's that going to look like? This is what it looks like astrologically. This is the most extreme stuff you can have astrologically. The most extreme, okay? However, because Donald is who he is, this can work to his advantage, because what's actually happening here is that in terms of the healthy aspect, he is receiving tremendous power from, you could say it's divinely ordained, okay? And it's allowing him to swim in the environment of extreme hypertoxicity over here. In other words, the enemy within, the stench of truth, of the ugliness of these satanic, demonic globalists. and then figuring out how we're going to clean it up. And the message is, how are we going to clean it up? You got to reveal it to heal it. So Donald's already done a very good job of defining and revealing the swamp, let's call it. And he's also doing a very good job of defining what exactly are we going to do, the practical tasks, Virgo, 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 to clean up the swamp. And he's doing it with a high degree of authority and wisdom and clarity, because he's coming from his own natural south node here, where over many, many lifetimes he has accumulated vast wisdom and knowledge, which he is now channeling, literally channeling, into what we see as this fellow, Donald Trump, here live today on planet Earth, talking right now live, okay? The orb of influence of this mind-boggling stress field is basically the whole month. So we're here right now. It's going to have a crescendo over here, you know, around the middle, and then it's going to peel off, and things are going to change significantly in September. But we're not there yet. I don't want to jump ahead. So here's my take on it. Hear me out. I'm going to keep it very, very simple. I was talking with Love Triber earlier today about this, and I asked her about what she thought about my opinion, my thoughts, my concepts. And this is what I said. Hey, dear Love Triber, I have a theory. You know how Kabbalah has basically stolen the Trump bumper sticker latest headline of, oh, we're going to eliminate tips for the service workers. Okay? Everybody knows that. It's all over mainstream news, blasted everywhere on the mainstream media and the alternative media. Kamala Harris steals Trump headline, the latest headline about how we're going to fix America. We're going to eliminate taxes on the service workers. The tips. All right? And that sent a very, very deep shockwave inside of me. And I realized, oh my God, this isn't just trivial, random stupidity and theft. This is an actual strategy. My opinion is that behind Kabbalah, there's all the string pullers, the Obamas and all the campaign managers, the Kabbalists, military-industrial complex, CIA, and the elites who are basically trying to get her to do their bidding. My feeling is that they have basically decided, you know what we're going to do? Since it doesn't make any difference anyway, we've already gone so far beyond the realms of credibility, and people are still listening to Kabbalah, what have we got to lose? So my feeling is that what's going to happen in the very near future, Kabbalah is going to now declare her position openly to the public. Right now, she's got nothing. She is a big zero. She is a vacuum. My feeling is what she's going to declare is that no taxes on the tips for the service workers. We're going to tighten up and clean up the border. We're going to clamp down on crime. We're going to make sure that the police are empowered to do what they got to do. We're going to make sure the military is cleaned up, and we're going to be strong again. We're going to make America awesome again. MAAW, Kamala, red, white, blue, and so on and so on. We're going to fix inflation. We're going to crush inflation so that you, the people, can have a good life. It's what you deserve. And so on and so on. Do you see my point here? What I feel is that they're going to do is an outrageous, preposterous strategy which is going to make the jaws of Donald Trump drop to the ground like, What? She is stealing my whole campaign, my whole strategy, my issues, my promises to the people that I've been working on for years upon years upon years. I just send the same message. And now she's stealing it. She's stealing the whole thing as if she's Donald Trump. She can't do that. She can't do that. She's a lying piece of hollow nothingness whose only concern is power, money, and control, and she'll say whatever she has to say from whatever script is put in front of her by the elites at that moment in time. And who cares about the past? Who cares about history? Who cares about how she's essentially a communist? Defund the police. Fund the Black Lives Matter crowd. Pro-crime. Be soft on crime, soft on criminals. Give them a chance. They're just victims and they're acting out. They need help. Let them roam free and wild so that they can evolve and grow and turn into healthy people. And on and on and on. Forget about the border. No borders, no problems. In other words, everything that's going to come out of the mouth of Kabbalah is going to be an exact 180-degree flip from the whole of her political history. She's a hardcore left-wing radical communist liberal, and she's going to present herself as the savior. It's really, really simple. It's very outrageous, but that's my opinion. In other words, she's going to steal Trump's light. She's going to steal everything. She's going to suck the air out of the Trump campaign and claim it as her own. And the mainstream media, the elites, the globalists, they will support her all the way to get her into office. And then when she's in office, everything's going to flip. And it's all going to be about flooding the world with more currency in order to aid the military-industrial complex. Anyway, that's my opinion. And when I felt this inside of me, I thought, no, this can't possibly be so. And then I thought, you know what? It is possible. These Kabbalists are so outrageous, they are so immune, they are so hollow, and they've already given themselves permission to do whatever they want, say whatever they want, knowing that they have protective cover from the Department of Justice, the DHHS, and everything. That they're just going to do it because they're banking on the American people being so stupid, so dumb, that they're actually going to believe Kabbalah. The propaganda is going to come on like a massive sewage spill, bigger than anything we've ever seen in history. Literally. It's going to be make America awesome again. Something like that. That's my personal opinion. And then that puts Trump in the position of like, well, what am I supposed to do now? That's my agenda. That's my plan. That's how we're going to fix America. Because of people like you, Kabbalah. But how do you fight in that kind of world? Well, I personally believe that Donald will find a way because there are these so-called conversations coming up scheduled fairly soon in September, I believe. There's 3 of them, ABC, something, something, and then Fox, okay? Anyway, please understand, once we start going, okay, I'm going to show you this stuff over here. Okay, once we start heading into November, August, so we've got September, we got October, 4 massive retrogrades in October, and then November, right over here, that's the crisis point. And I don't know, I'm just, I'm a little bit anxious because my feeling is that, you see, this isn't going to go away anytime in the immediate future. Roughly within a few degrees, this big fat triangle here, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, let me just double check it over here. I mean, I'm going to be pulling up, I've already pulled up charts for the election day, but I don't have them in front of me right now. Okay, so we've got Pluto just moves direct, okay, in October at the crisis point in Capricorn, okay? So it's extremely hyper volatile. This will be the degree of extreme desperation now moving forward in time. My belief is that the elites, the Elites, the Kabbalists, will be riding this like a massive wave of exploitation, very, very close to Neptune, at the very close to the crises points, 27.5. Okay? Fairly close to Uranus, crisis areas, 25. Saturn still retrograde in the middle. Jupiter will be retrograde in Gemini. So that could be a problem for Donald. Also, the moon will be in Sagittarius. The sun will be in Scorpio. We'll see what happens. All I know is that there are some extremely disturbing pieces of sacred geometry happening around election day. And what it makes me feel, this is just, again, my personal opinions. My personal opinion is that there's a massive, massive propaganda campaign is going to accelerate and expand over the next few months to get us into November the 5th. And in order to add, I don't know what you would call it, distractions, denials, fuel to the propaganda, certain insane, crazy events are, I would say, probably going to be staged, orchestrated, that just suddenly appear out of nowhere, like, oh my God, it's official now, World War III is official. Oh no, why didn't anybody tell me? It's an emergency. It's an emergency. We have to cancel the election. We can't possibly hold a legitimate election when we have just declared World War III. We need to focus all our attention on war, people. In other words, let's just cancel the election and forget about it, and we'll worry about it another time. I know this has never happened before in America, but, you know, things change. So don't be surprised if you see things like that happening. You know, oh my God, everything is escalating over in Eastern Europe. Everything's escalating over in the Middle East. Everything's escalating in the Pacific around Taiwan. Oh my God, we have to put all our energy over there. We need quadrillions more dollars printed in order to deal with this massive war. You see the plan here? Warmongering. And all, the elites are on board. That's what they want, okay? They want to inflate the currency, weaken the dollar to ever expand the debt farm. More and more debt to infinity. It'll never ever be paid off. It's the same for every other country, every other currency, every other central bank. But in what's called modern money theory, who cares? It's just a number on a screen. Well, I don't believe that. I personally believe that eventually reality will kick in, and there will be very convulsive episodes in the global financial system that sort of parallel the trajectory of what's happening in the global political system especially with the United States. Especially with the United States relative to the rest of the world. Because what's essentially happening is a pure and simple Pluto-style polarization. Okay? Random loose energy, come in here, come in there. Then Pluto reaches the crisis point. It coalesces and congeals. Crisis. Desperate people do desperate things. It spreads out. Pluto goes to the extreme of the extreme of the extreme. And it distills. It distills down to a really, really simple existential storyline. Tyranny versus freedom. That's it. Now, tyranny comes in many forms. There's political tyranny, free speech tyranny, self-defense tyranny, private property tyranny, privacy rights tyranny, financial tyranny. All of these are different forms. Political tyranny. All of them happening simultaneously, which effectively basically turns not just America into a debt farm, but it turns the whole world into a slave camp that operates as a debt farm in service to the global elites. That's their plan. The problem is their plan is going like this. Because there are forces bigger and larger and more powerful than the highest of the highest elites. And that is God, or love, or energy, or Jesus, or the maker, the divine maker, nature above all. Nature is very, very pure. It's very, very simple. It's non-judgmental. It doesn't care. Like in China, all the flooding and the chaos and the demolition, the collapse, the implosion of the whole world of China and the CCP. Nature doesn't care. Nature's just doing what it does. Floods. If you build millions of skyscrapers and condos made out of cardboard, polystyrene, glue, paper, and a bunch of paint, and you tell everybody this is a mansion, and then 3 to 5, 7 years later it falls apart, it's just nature. But that negative result is the result of very unhealthy policies. It's the same thing in America. When you have really, really bad stuff happening in America, it's the result of very, very bad decisions, of very, very bad policies from very, very bad people. So it becomes very simplistic. I'm just trying to simplify it all, like the KISS rule. Keep it simple, stupid. Things are the way they are because nature is what it is, and a bunch of elites at the top who believe that they are above God, above nature, above the phenomenon of love. The only thing they care about is power, money, and control. But it's like an insatiable lust. They can't get enough, so they keep having to get more and more and more and more to fill the ever-increasing vacuum in here. But when you are infused with the healing power of love and you own it outright, that becomes more important and more valuable than anything the global elites might be able to offer you. Sometimes it's hard to understand unless you have direct experience of what it's like on each side of the equation. Anyway, so I guess the point I'm trying to get across is over the next, what are we today? The 12th. Okay, so over the next 2 weeks, things are going to get pretty scary, insane, berserk. We got the Elon Donald thing happening tonight. The moon's going to move into Sagittarius. The global financial system is extremely unstable. The Chinese Communist Party and China itself is hyper unstable. We've got the Democratic National Convention starting on the full moon at peak levels of crisis point during this moment here. Isn't that interesting? Well, this is going to be out of... This will move on. This is roughly around the 14th, okay? Let's mark that here, the 14th. But we're starting here at the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that's the moon moving around. But this thing here is basically a fixed piece of sacred geometry. It's going to reach a crescendo here, and secondary crescendos, tertiary crescendos here, here, like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So by that time, we're not going to be following the moon quite so much. This is where the big concern is here. Excuse me. Oh, what's happening on December 7th? What's that? The so-called election selection will be already over. Okay, December 7th, we've got Sun in Sagittarius 15, Moon in Aquarius, switching to Pisces. Mercury's going to be in Sagittarius. That's a lot of Sagittarius piling up there. Okay. Venus in Capricorn. Oh, okay. Approaching Pluto. Oh, okay. Mars is going to be a Leo. Very powerful for Donald. Jupiter's going to be in Gemini. Mars will have moved on. Yeah. Saturn's still right there in the middle of Pisces. Uranus still retrograde there, 24. Neptune, 27. Pluto's already moving on, but Pluto, Pluto's moving into Aquarius for good at the end of November. And then into December 24, there's no going back. That's the 0 point. All of this is going to basically be the 0 point here for Pluto. So we're going to be watching that very carefully. I'm trying to identify crises points. I would have to actually create an astrodoodle so I could see it more in a geometric aspect. Keep her on a 7th. Yeah, okay. Sagittarius Sun, Sagittarius Moon over there on the 1st. 7th and 14th, so there'll be a full... Okay, anyway, we'll deal with that. We've got a bit of time. I will be playing with my charts in advance anyway. Yeah, Mars-Pluto square. Oh, that's what it is. Is that what it is? Let me just check for you. Yeah, it's a pretty loose square. It's about 6 or 7 degrees, but yeah, that's definitely a little bit unsettling. Mars goes into Aquarius, Mars goes into Leo way over here in November. So that's going to cross over here. The actual crisis point that you might be talking about, necessary truth, well, it's not, well, anyway, we'll worry about it later. It's not an exact square, but it's definitely something to watch. All right, let's have a look. Oh, you're talking about Mars-Pluto square, Cancer, Mars in Cancer, Capricorn, Pluto. Okay, so, all right, I see what you're getting at, because it's right at the tippy end there, the 29 degrees. Okay. So there's Pluto in Capricorn, and there's Mars in Cancer. So that's definitely a crisis point, and that will be highlighted. That's actually November. That's early November. Mars square Pluto at, oh my God. Oh my God, I'm glad we're having this conversation right now. Whoa, boy. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wow. Thank you. Mars square Pluto in Capricorn. So eventually that's going to look like this. I mean, you're not going to hardly see it on the chart. Mars will be over here. So Mars, oh, wait a minute. Mars opposite. We're talking Mars opposite. And maybe that's what you're talking about. Okay, December. Well, in November the 4th, oh my God, this is right around the election day. Holy shit. I'm glad you brought that up. What's going to happen just before election day? Pluto's going to be right here in Capricorn, 29.5 degrees. And Mars is going to be over here in Cancer, 29.5 degrees. Okay, that's extremely close to the Cancer-Capricorn axis of America. And this is going to be at the crisis point, 29 degrees, 29 degrees. An absolute, that's an absolute pure opposition. Mars, oh my God. Mars opposite Pluto. That can be a very, very difficult transit. Oh, I'm glad you pointed those things out for me, Necessary. Mars opposite Pluto at a very, very delicate, sensitive, critical point for the United States itself. Okay? The United States was born with Pluto in Capricorn, 27.5 degrees. So we're talking about this aspect coming up early November, right at the election. Mars opposite Pluto. Mars opposite Pluto is, it's an aspect of war. It's a very classical aspect that indicates war. Now, if it's at the crisis degree, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We'll have to talk about that down the road, but mark your calendars. Oh my God. In other words, early November. You know, there's going to be all sorts of like static and chatter coming across the world and the internet. What's going to happen on the election? Is it going to trigger a civil war? Is it going to be a civil war because Kamala won because she cheated, and all the MAGA Donald Trump people are going to say, that's it. Enough is enough is enough. We're going to take back America. Or is it going to be the other way around? Donald wins, has a massive landslide, and the elites and the Kabbalists and the military-industrial complex and the Dems, who were doing everything they could in their power with all the power and money that they have, they actually lose, and they lose it. When they actually lose it, and maybe they go berserk, and it triggers a warlike dynamic. Pluto can get very extreme. When you get a pure opposition like that, it's the two ruling planets of Scorpio, and it's like you really don't want to trigger that energy. Mars in Scorpio is basically like two versions of the same bomb facing off at each other. If this one triggers off to this one, it's mutual destruction. If this one triggers off to this one, it's potential mutual destruction as well. It's an extremely fierce alignment that has a couple of expressions. One of them is extreme hyper frustration that comes from knowing that when Mars opposes Pluto, the worst thing you could do is actually react to the energy and go to war, because it would be very, very nasty. Pluto opposed Mars. Mars opposed Pluto. Yeah. It's very scary. Very scary. Is that true? Mars opposed Pluto, World War II, 1941? I'd have to dig into my ephemeris. I don't have to go on a computer to do all that. But I'm so glad you brought that up, Necessary, because we're seeing it. When does it start? November 4th? Well, let me go back to the charts. I'll show you since we're actually here. I mean, you have to give or take a week on each side because Pluto moves extremely slowly and it's going to be at the crisis point for a long time. Mars moves much more quickly, so let's focus on Mars. I don't know, you probably can't see it here. It's basically the 3rd and the 4th, okay, right over here. Let's see if it can actually show up. Mars 29 degrees, Cancer, opposing Pluto 29 degrees Pluto. It's all 29 degrees, 29, 29, 29, 29, 29, 29, but the exact minutes, it gets much more acute over here when you get to the 4th. And the 4th is the eve of the election, the actual day of election, at which point Mars flips into Leo. That's very beneficial for Donald, but this is still a crisis energy because it doesn't really matter what sign this is, because in terms of the sacred geometry, it's an extremely exact and fierce opposition. Okay? It's an extremely warlike opposition. Now, it might be like a symbolic war. In other words, the war between left and right, the war between Republicans and Democrats, the war between American constitutionalists versus American communists. That's basically what it comes down to. Essentially, because of the way Pluto works, in hyper extremes, the distillation will reach a point where you are either one of these type of folks where you love America and you don't want to see it go. You want to reconstitute the Constitution. You want to redeclare the Declaration of Independence and make America great again. That's the whole Donald Trump crowd approach to things, okay? And the opposite of that is basically tyranny, communism, full-blown communism, Marxist, tyrannical, dictatorship communism through what would effectively end up as the uniparty, where there is no distinction. In other words, it kind of doesn't matter anymore. So we're going to find out. The exact moment is November 4th, so there's going to be a lot of pressure cooker type of energy leading us up to November the 5th. The crescendo, the last minute crescendo will be the night before on the November 4th, where Pluto will be exactly opposite Mars, but the build-up will be way in advance, weeks and weeks and weeks. Well, it's from now. It's already happening now. So we'll track it along as we go, okay? All right, I don't want to take up the rest of your evening. I want to go and check out what's happening with Donald and Elon. I'm glad you didn't laugh at me when I suggested my opinion that Kabbalah is actually going to steal Donald's aura, his light, his policies, his agenda, his whole message. And she's going to repackage it and make it hers, as though she thought of it and she just suddenly appeared as an angel from heaven and she's going to save America by basically replicating the Donald Trump agenda and making it her own. And then it becomes up to the American people. Who do you believe? A fraudster, Kabbalah, or someone who is actually what I consider genuine, who can actually deliver? Would you trust someone who does a complete 180 for you within a matter of days, weeks, and months? Kabbalah has a long history of being very hollow and basically saying whatever she has to say, do whatever she has to do to rise up in her perceived pathway to power, money, and control and glory. She revels in the spotlight, but when you actually put her under a spotlight and ask the tough questions, she falls apart completely because there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Or whatever is there is planted by remote, probably from a Neuralink, something like that. But anyway, we'll see. It's going to be a spectacular show. I'm going to check out now. And I want to thank all of you for listening and hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Makes me feel like I'm doing something useful and valuable. Okay. Yeah, we're going to see what happens. We're going to see.